Okay, everyone, welcome to this Wealth Creation Show. And today we're going to talk about the psychology of money. Now,
Money. Ooh.
money, I think it's all about the mindset and the psychology behind it. And researching this topic to talk about today, I will reference the book that is actually entitled The Psychology of Money, and it's by Morgan Housel. And it was quite good. I mean, I've not read the whole book, but I
This is
used it
quite
as
interesting,
reference
Richard. This
today.
is quite interesting because in an earlier life, I would have thought, what? Psychology of money? What the hell's that all about? Why? What? Eh? It's like, and then there'll be people out there going, oh, money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid it's the love of money is the root of all evil. So get your facts right when you say that. It's the love of money, not money is the root of all evil, because you need money to do anything and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we'll turn back 10, 15 years before, well, obviously, when I first started to work with you and things. And I mean, like, if somebody come to me all the psychology of money, I don't think I would ever think about it the same way I would now because I
Yeah.
know different. Do you know, and I've been taught different anyway. But yeah, the book by Morgan Housel, it's called The Psychology of Money, and I took a lot of pointers for that for our topic of discussion today. And it's a really insightful and kind of thought-provoking book, and it offers kind of quite a fresh perspective on the subject of money, and it really affects us all. So I think it's important that we do discuss it. And I think whether you're struggling to possibly manage your finances, or you're simply looking to kind of just understand it better, or how money, or understand better how money works, then it's quite a good book. So I'll maybe stick in the comments or something, or if you leave a comment, I'll send you the link to the book.
This takes us back to the schools, something that's not taught.
It's not taught, no.
And this you've got to understand money, and you've got to, dare I say, respect money to a degree. And I know it sounds daft about respecting money. What the hell are you talking about? But what I mean by that is, like, if you don't respect it, it's easy come, easy go. This is the classic. Somebody wins the lottery, next minute they've got no money left because they ran out, because they didn't respect money. They didn't respect it because they didn't really work for it. They didn't do the blood, sweat, and tears and toil over the whole thing.
They don't have the same appreciation for it.
Whereas I used to think to myself when I was going to do something, it's like, wait a minute, I've got to work 5 hours to afford that. So I've got to take 5, and in order to buy that, do I think it's worth trading 5 hours of my time for it? And
it's the whole time and money thing.
Yeah, it's the trade. Well, there's another thing in itself, isn't it? Let's get a psychology of time and money. You notice how I said that? I used to say that about it's going to take 5 hours of my time. Well, it's not going to take 5 hours of my time because I don't rely on time equals money anymore. Because my money's made irrespective if I put any time in at all. Interestingly enough, they said that property prices were going to go up in the next 5 years by 25%. Aye, it's like, holy shit.
That's interesting.
It's like, and I just immediately thought the size of the portfolio, and I went, oh my God, I'm going to make how much over the next 5 years? It's like, and some people will go, that's terrible. That's appalling. It's like, newsflash, every business is doing that.
Yeah.
Every bank's doing that as well. They're all thinking about that. Every pension fund that's invested in property, every commercial landlord that's like, oh my God, they're just immediately taking their portfolio and the side, irrespective of whether it's got finance on it, by the way. This is what I talked about. You could have a 10 million portfolio. Look at Kiyosaki. Classic example. Let's come to him here. He says, I've got 3 billion in debt. What? He says, but I've got 5 billion in assets.
There you go.
But if he's got 5 billion in property and it goes up 25%, then it's 25% of 5 billion he's getting an increase. He's not getting 25% of the 2 billion, which is the assets minus liabilities. So see why there's a rush for people to buy property, and they don't care how they get it, and they finance the whole lot. And some of them, you see them, they're up at 100% lending almost when you look at their balance sheet. So it looks like they're skint. But when you look at the asset value, you think to yourself, okay, you're relying on property prices going up over the years. And they will. I defy anybody to say they won't. Because I tell you what, They always do. Now, why do they? You're asking me, Richard. Thank
Why
you.
do they, Jim?
Thank you. I'll tell you. Because salaries go up, because people find out more ways to earn money, and therefore they have more income as a result, and more disposable income, more importantly. So therefore they use it for their purpose. So they'll spend, but a lot of them will reinvest. Or they'll spend more than likely. They'll buy bigger houses. Maybe interest rates will come down at that time, which interest rates have come down, just last week. So the Bank of England reduced them to 4.75, the base rate,
down
last week. So you can see how that's come down as well. So that's going to bring mortgage rates down. So it's going to be more affordable for people to have a bigger chunk out of their income in terms of what they can buy. So £800 a month is going to buy you just a wee bit more in terms of property than it would have the week before, which when it was 5% base rates. So that's the sort of thing. And if you look back to probably, I think 2019 was it, where mortgage rates were historically low, the affordability has gone up, less affordability by 60% less.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, if it came back to that, you'd be able to afford about 60% more. Therefore, you'd be able to buy bigger houses. And that's why property prices go up.
Well, think about that. You're right. It was 2009. Would it have been 2019? I secured 2.9%.
People just keep,
which is coming up for renewal.
they've got nowhere else to put their money. I know it sounds daft, but that's what they do. They want we're a nation of home buyers.
Yeah.
For that reason. And this is why people are convinced by putting their money in their own house and buying their own house is the right way forward for them. You know, the answer to that is it sometimes isn't the right way for you to buy your own house. Sometimes renting your house is better than buying for your circumstances.
Yeah.
But get in touch with us and we'll walk through that with you on your individual basis to give you an idea about what is the necessary thing to do. Hence the reason why when somebody inquires to buy, we kind of review it and we go, well, I maybe wouldn't be buying if you're only staying for a couple of years in this property and you're going to then resell it. The entry and exit costs are going to be prohibitive in comparison to the fact that you can rent for the same amount of money, but then you're not committed to holding that mortgage and you're not committed to taking that chance at maybe property prices might drop before you sell again, and you have to take that hit. You've also not got any responsibility for repairs if you rent, whereas the owner does. So if you're only holding for a couple of years, you can see easily how possibly renting is the best way forward for that person, especially if they're moving out the country or they're coming back or whatever they're doing. So these are the sort of things. So understanding money is probably in your finances, is probably the right thing to do. Over to you, Richard. Talk about this a bit more.
Yeah, just before we move on, obviously the thing about it, and I know obviously this is talking about property again, but if you caught Sophie and I done the midweek show talking about people buying property and why we have done it, we're progressively doing it at a younger age, whereas on the continent they don't do it till like in their 30s and their 40s instead of their 20s, because they're in such a much better financial standpoint because they've been able to get higher paid jobs, save up money, have a bigger deposit, and things like that.
Yeah.
So it puts them further along that line when they join the property ladder, as opposed to doing it at a younger age.
I think we're indoctrinated into that mindset.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if you go out of that, there's like, what's wrong with you? Or your peers think less of you because you don't own your house. I remember when I was younger, people actually used to get completely slagged. Used to get all the time. They used to get ridiculed for no owning their house. People used to run about and laugh at them. Crazy, yeah?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I think if you catch the midweek show a few weeks back, I can't remember the title. Sophie and I done, and it talks about purchasing homes and the different trends between like us in the UK and the continent and things. We go into quite a lot of depth.
So if anybody's struggling to manage their finances, or they're simply looking for a better understanding of how money works, that book that you talked about is definitely for them anyway. And doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave.
Yeah, I think that's quite a fair assessment. Yeah,
it's habits. It's habits that you have accustomed to. It means that you understand how to work with money for your best. I mean, you've got some stuff written down here about your financial decisions, and
yeah.
um,
Well,
I
you do
actually,
a lot of obviously.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of people, a lot of people who have obviously that follow us on this channel. I'll have seen your
spreadsheets.
spreadsheet and thing, but not everybody makes financial decisions using their
I've just
spreadsheet.
I've just made a financial decision to buy another property the other now, and
Using your
I literally did it on my spreadsheet because what's happened was I was buying two. The other one's just no plain ball. So I've gone back to the mortgage company and says, look, any chance I could just do it on one? And they
yeah,
went, well, it's going to be a wee bit of higher rate because you're not doing two together now, so the costs go up a bit. It's only 0.45 more in interest over 5 years. It's like a couple of £100. It's like, yeah, okay then, because I'm locking in a really good gain anyway, so I'm not
mhm,
particularly bothered, and I've got a huge portfolio, so it's no great margins, but I'm not particularly bothered. It's fine. It's the gain I've locked in, and the prospect of the type of property it is and where it is. It'll be extremely popular, and it is one which I truly believe will appreciate faster in the next 20 years than your big detached and semi-detached properties.
yeah. Yeah, and I would agree with you on that one. But yeah, a lot of people don't tend to make their decisions and be quite analytical and use a spreadsheet like that. Do you know, a lot of people make decisions while they're sitting around the dinner table or having conversations and meetings with
Yeah.
people. And these are the kind of places where, do you know,
The booze. That's the worst thing
people,
for making
yeah,
decisions.
oh, I
It's
know,
like, oh my God, it's like the incoherent strategies that you come up with and the decisions that you make while you're intoxicated can often lead some people to financial disaster.
yeah, because in these kind of situations, do you know what it's like? Do you know people's personal histories and do you know people's unique view of the world and people's ego and their pride and do you know all
Yeah,
these different things that influences the market influences and things and people's strange incentives and things as well all blend in and create this story that maybe feels right, but it's maybe not the right decision and that's how
yeah.
you, do you know, rather than doing an analytical approach and having things set out on a spreadsheet like you do yourself, Jim, with your investments and things, there's a better way to do it, and it's risk analysis and things we're
I
going to talk about.
remember, I remember, I remember reading up on when I was doing my business studies, and we were doing contract law. That was
Hmm.
one of the parts there. And I remember actually in Scots law is great because common law principles are quite
Yeah,
in there, and it sets precedents throughout the legal system when it's adjudicated, when it's finalised. And what I mean by that is there was one in there, and I talked about intoxication, where it's actually if you've been deliberately intoxicated in order to sign a contract under Scots law, you can actually get out of that contract.
ah,
And this was the classic
you
example because
don't
what
sign
happened when,
contracts in the
yeah,
pub.
years and years ago, people used to go out to the pub, they'd get
Yeah,
their client absolutely, for want of a better word, rat-arsed
yeah,
or pished. They would get them completely done, and then we'd go, yeah, okay, and does that sound right to you? And they'd get them to sign it.
yeah. You see that in
And then
like
they were
some
like, and then they'd wake up the next day and go, oh my God, what have I done?
what
And it's
have I
like, oh,
agreed to?
you're too late. You're no getting out of it. You're no getting out of that contract. You've signed it. And it's like, that's how it came up in Scots law as a common law principle that in contract law, if you can prove that you were deliberately plied with alcohol in order to sign a contract, you can actually invalidate that contract itself.
You
Just
see that in films and things. You know, the American films, but maybe like obviously the '90s films and things, and they would take them out to the restaurant and get them boozed up and get them to sign the contract and things. And
yeah.
obviously, it's not really the
Some
ethical
people
way.
still do that. I know.
Yeah,
I know a very successful sales director who is actually a managing director now as well of a massive company, who actually does that all the time. He takes his clients out because we're talking about millions.
yeah,
He takes his clients out in Edinburgh and he gets them completely three sheets to the wind. But he doesn't actually get them to sign a contract. He just takes them out, and it's just part of wine and dining.
yeah,
It goes on in the business community still, doesn't it?
yeah. And that creates that relationship between them where they think, oh, he's a good
Of
guy.
course it is.
I'm going to sign with him. Yeah,
Are these inappropriate photographs that they've got of them on that night
yeah, probably.
out? At the release if they don't sign the contract.
Yeah. So, but
I'll
then
take my hat. And I mentioned P. Diddy.
yeah, I know, yeah,
Aye, potentially.
that's got to come out. Yeah,
Potentially. Hence the reason why everybody's nervous. Because I've
there's a
got a
lot of
funny feeling
nervous,
that's what he was doing.
people in Hollywood just now, I think. But yeah. So we all do some maybe unexpected things with money, and mainly because maybe the whole money game and things is maybe still new to you. I don't know, but do you know what? Some things that might look a wee bit zany to you might make absolute sense to another person. Do you know, everybody's different and individual, and we all make decisions that are influenced on our own kind of unique experiences. And that seems perfectly logical to us, maybe at that moment in time. Do you know? So, yeah. that's a good example. Yeah,
I see Trump's been voted in, right? So if Trump's voted in, then crypto's suddenly gone sky high because he was talking about making it legal as part and parcel. So that's why the price of crypto's now gone high again. But again, it's gambling. But for some people, it's no gambling at all. They're like, it's a dead cert. For other people, it's like, I've lost everything. And for some other people like me, it's like, this is just pure nuts.
Yeah, to me, I've got the same approach. I just wouldn't even go near it with a barge pole. But anyway.
So this then takes us on to you're talking about my decisions are usually logically made on a spreadsheet, especially when I come to buy property and I know the numbers and I know the workout and I've got most of the factors fixed. The most important factor is that how much is it going to cost for the financing. Let's fix over 5 years, so we definitely know what we're doing. We know the tenant's going to pay that. What's the minimum the tenant would ever pay? Can we still last and stay in business with that? Yes, absolutely. Job done. No brainer. This makes a definite buy.
And that's your risk analysis process. And it's definitely like, obviously, I've put in here about luck and risk. Luck, I really wouldn't personally.
What's it? What's the song goes? Luck be a lady tonight.
Yeah.
and it's literally people leave it to luck, don't they?
Yeah. Some people do, and it's quite a scary.
What you base that assumption on about, this share price or that, or this currency is going to go sky high, or this crypto is going to go ballistic? What have you based it on? It's like, I just have a feeling. That's luck.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is, people that leave things to luck is one of the biggest risks they could take, rather than actually approaching something by doing the proper risk analysis, which then limits their liability. So. But yeah, if you've ever thought about how luck and risk play their roles in your financial success, then do you know the trick when dealing with failure is to arrange your finances and financial life and things in a way that your investment, do you know, if you maybe miss some financial goal, or maybe you miss something that in your investment that maybe could potentially wipe you out if you've not done the proper risk analysis in the first, like you say, Jim, when it comes to property investment, you see how far you can be pushed by occupancy rate and interest rates and the rent levels and things like that, and where your tolerance is, and you think,
the only way in property investment, if you understand the numbers and you get them right, the only way you could be wiped out in that is if the government makes a decision which actually affects everybody. But everybody's going to go to the wall anyway. So what does it matter? Because you're all going to hell in a handbasket. That's the reality. And that's what a lot of people don't realize about the property investment business, how important and how easy it is to do if you understand the process and understand the numbers and understand the things that will influence and can influence and get under control, but understand the external factors that can influence you can't control, but you know how to minimize the risk for that. And luck and risk do not come into this at all. It is not playing the odds or anything like that. It's not what we do really. I mean, look at classic example is mind that night we went to Glasgow and I gave you money and I had the same amount of money and I was in about 5 settings and you ended up doubling yours in about 5 settings. And it's like, that was just luck and risk. That's it.
Just luck. There was no planning or strategic thought process in that. It was,
And I stopped there straight away and says, that's me. I expected to lose it. I know that sounds daft. What you expected? I said, well, the reality, the chances of winning in a casino are very, very remote because the odds are stacked against you straight away. So it's what I could afford to lose. At that time, I thought 80 quid's all right. It's a wee flutter, and I'm fine with that. And then you were up, so it was like, you were up. So we came out even anyway. Just the distribution of wealth was a bit different. You had double, and I had nothing. So I could say you took my money from me.
You could. But I suppose for anybody, I think sometimes when it comes to managing finances, it can be a wee bit tricky and things, especially sometimes if maybe your finishing line keeps moving and things as well. But when you're doing risk analysis and looking at where you kind of break even, you know, enough isn't the same as too little. So
Mm.
keep that in mind, because some things are maybe too precious to risk, regardless of what the potential reward is, and
I
base it
watched
on risk.
Louis Theroux about Las Vegas,
Yeah,
and it was the gamblers, and it's like, oh my god, these people were down 300,000 and 400,000 over the weekend and stuff like that, and never batted an eyelid. They were miffed, but they never really batted an eyelid. And I think, oh my god, I just
I'd be
think about
sick.
300,000 and 400,000. Think, what would that leverage up to? So if I do a 25% of 300,000 divided by 0.25, I could buy 1.2 million pounds worth of property
Mhm.
at that and put that down as and that then would bring us on the magic of compounding.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
easily as a result of that. So that's how I think about it. And for me, compounding's like, it's probably like a snowball. You know, when you
Yeah,
start at the top of the hill and you see these films, I think the one most people will remember is The Grinch. You know,
yeah,
when it
yeah.
starts at the top, the snowball, and
Real
it goes
soon,
all the
yeah.
way down, and it hits the town or something like that, and he's in it because
Ah, yeah,
he was trying to get rid of all the presents or something. But that's what compounding is like. It starts off this wee tiny snowball at the top of the hill, and then it starts to gather momentum, but it also starts to gather more and more snow. And as the circumference of the surface gets bigger, it actually attracts more snow or more money. That's what
mhm,
compounding does. So the key out of compounding is not to destroy the initial wealth, because that's what compounds all the time.
yeah.
It's to actually maybe just take some of the compound amount that you've compounded and actually
And
just use that. Hence the reason why property investment is a good vehicle for that, because the initial asset, the wealth, is actually maintained, but it's the income you generate from it that potentially you can use. Now, some of that has to go back in, obviously, but it's that income. So it's that relationship with money and the compound and the magic, it all happens, and the growth that keeps fueling the future growth. And I
yeah,
liken it as well. Give you another example. You've got a seed. So you've bought a seed. This is maybe cost you £1,000. You stick it in this is a money tree. You stick it in the
yeah.
ground, the money tree, the seed. You grow it, you nurture it, you look after it. You've not got anything out of it yet, by the way. It's still £1,000 and it's a seed in the ground. And you're still going. And you get a wee shoot coming up. And you go, wow, it's starting to grow. But you're not still getting anything out of it. And then it keeps going, and then it goes up and it goes up and it goes up. And about maybe 5 years down the line, it eventually grows into some sort of tree, which actually starts to bear fruit. And it's the fruit is the generation of the wealth as a result of the £1,000 you put in the ground. And the fruit is the money that comes out of it, the income. Now, the fruit, we all know, has seeds as well.
Yeah.
So what do we do out of that? Well, okay, some people say, I've got enough. They'll harvest the fruit and then they'll go and spend it.
Hmm.
Some people say, I tell you what, I want a bigger tree and I want more trees. So I'll take the fruit, which is effectively the £1,000 again on each one, and put them into the ground. So they've not spent it, they've not used it, they've just reinvested it. So see how this £1,000 5 years ago has now become maybe £10,000
Yeah.
in 5 years' time. So it's grown by effectively 10 times, because there was 10 as a result. But then they've got to wait another 5 years for these 10 that are planted in the ground to grow up to harvest the fruit from the next amount. Now, if each one bears 10, you've no longer just got 10 getting harvested, you've got 6 trees, or you've got 11 trees, all bearing 10 now.
Yeah.
So now you've got 110 seeds to plant. So do you take the 11 trees, and some people will go at that point, well, 11 trees with 111 or 110 seeds that come out, or apples, or whatever it is. I tell you what, I'll take that and harvest it, and I'll go and spend it. That's fine, because the next year you'll probably have another 110.
Again, yeah.
You only started off like 10 years ago, 5 years and 5 years. You only started off 10 years ago with £1,000 seed in the ground, but now you've got 110,000 each year now, because you've grown and you've let it grow and grown all the trees. So then I tell you what, a person like me would go, I tell you what I'll do. I'll actually put the 110 back in the ground
and see what you
wait
get.
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait 5 years. So you're at 11 plus the 110 in 5 years' time is 121 trees bearing another 10 seeds, which goes to 1,210 seeds,
And this
which is
is where
1.2 million at £1,000 a seed.
yeah, and this is where the whole thing, it's patience and the delayed gratification comes into play. And a lot of people don't have that patience, and that's what. And people, do you know, they'll maybe get their first tree's fruit, and because it's a really good analogy to use it like that. Their first tree's fruit and just spend it.
Do you know
And
why?
that's where they failed at the first hurdle.
Here's why. They've not got any vision about what they were intending to do in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have their eyes on the prize. Therefore, they just see the money coming in and they think, oh, I could just spend it on that and I'll cash out. Whereas I've got the vision of I want to be financially free, or I want to help my community, or I want to build more property, or I want to be able to do this or that. I don't want to be answerable to other people as a result. And I always want to have the money coming in, or I want to pass on a legacy to my children, which will grow. Even if they take money out of it, it will grow. So if you've got 1.2 million coming in after 15 years, then you can afford to take a couple of 100,000 out, can't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And just replant the other one. So you could take a couple of 100,000 out. You've still got 1,000 to put back into the ground, which is a million. And you put that back in the ground, and then that, the 1,210 plus the 110 plus the 11 you had, the one you had in the first place. No, the 11,
11.
Plus the one in the first place. You've got 1,332. Then multiply that by 1,000. Yeah. Now you've effectively got 100 and no, you effectively have got 1,332 million now.
Yeah.
The next 5 years, because you've planted them and done that again. Now you're going to have a point where I'll get somebody jumping in detail. Go, well, what about the yields? It might be different.
Yeah.
What about a storm?
Factors.
It comes along and blows all your trees down. What about a disease that kills some of your trees? And that's exactly like property investment.
And that's why you have contingency plans and things like that as well.
That's why you've always got to have some sort of safety or some sort of de-risking in the whole thing. But that's what compounding does for you.
I think, I mean, as a simple analogy of compounding, I think that's really good. There is other factors that'll contribute into that. But what people tend to overlook is obviously compounding itself. It isn't their first thought. And it is overlooked. And the reason that is like you said, Jim, their eyes aren't on the prize and they're focusing on something else. As soon as they've got money coming through, it's, oh, I'll buy a big car or I'll buy a bigger house or, things like that, rather than reinvesting and accumulating and building their wealth. And that's where I think people lose track.
I think it was Einstein that said compounding is the 8th wonder of the world.
Yeah,
it's like wow.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. When you look at the math and you work it out, and I know it's a mathematical exercise and a lot of people aren't mathematical orientated, but the easy one analogy is the 1 pence doubled up for 31 days.
Yeah.
If you double 1 pence up, like 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64 to 128 to 256 to 512 and to 1,024. Wait a minute, that's the pixels on a isn't it? Yeah. 256, 512, 1024, 248. It's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I've never thought about that.
See that? If you double it up for 31 days, it comes to just over 10 million. And folk will go, nah, absolutely rubbish. Get your calculator out and double it up for 10. No, for 31 days, you'll get to just over 10 million in terms of what you've got. And that's how compounding works. And you look at the first 20 days or something like that, you think, it's nothing to write home about. But it's when you get to the 21, 22, 23, 24. Imagine when you get to 30 and you're like, I'm going to cash out at 5 million. But the next day you're going to get 10.
It doubles, yeah.
Why would you cash out then? Because you've not thought about what you're going to use it for. That's why you would cash out and sell it. It's like, well, I've not got anybody to give it to. I'm just going to have a great time. 5 million is good enough for me. That's how some people just exit a market before everybody else. And that's why they turn around and regret it, because they don't have the foresight and the long-term vision and the staying power to understand, just don't touch. Don't touch it. Don't disrupt it. It's working, and let it do its job. And that's why I say to a lot of people, just take something out of the income. Don't eat into the capital, because it's like if you're trying to trim the fat, right? It's like some people try to trim the fat on a bit of beef or whatever it is, a joint or anything like that. They trim the fat, but sometimes they actually cut into the meat and they take some of the meat with it. But sometimes you could end up cutting into the bone, and that you could actually destroy it.
Yeah, definitely. Compounding, I would totally agree that it could be obviously classed as the eighth wonder of the world. And people sometimes maybe not even just forget to pause and think about it, but maybe they're not even aware of it, or how the amazing potential it can have to their own success and wealth. So it's something to really think about, is compounding. And we've done shows about the power of compounding and the compounding effect in previous shows. So you'll find them in the playlist as well. And they really go quite into the nitty-gritty of compounding.
This then brings me back to what you had touched on about, and I touched on at the beginning, about quite a lot of people. Well, let's just be honest. It's 95% of the population don't understand the journey from wealth acquisition to actually wealth preservation.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and we've done a whole show on wealth preservation and things as well, but holding on to your wealth isn't about, obviously, daring adventures and things like that. It's about humility and a healthy dose of fear. I mean, you need to have fear in order to be successful, and reminding you that futures can change quite quickly. So, it's about embracing that modest lifestyle and recognizing that, some of your success and your good fortune.
Fear's good. Remember, Richard, fear is good because fear allows you to ask better questions.
Yeah, fear is such a big an important element of anybody's success.
So don't run away from the fear. If you have fear, just ask the right questions to allay your fears. That's what the fear. You should be worried if you don't have any fear going into something, because every single person has it. Even some of the best singers in the world are fraught with fear and nerves before they even go on stage.
Yeah, you hear that quite a lot, and then you would think, God, I would never have thought that.
It's the same energy as excitement. Fear is the same energy as excitement. It's just it's expressed in a different way.
Yeah.
So you were talking about a modest lifestyle, about this, and we talked about eroding your capital wealth. So what is this about, in the modest lifestyle? Just elaborate on that a wee bit more.
Yeah, no, like the modest lifestyle and recognizing that, like, obviously, some of your successes in your life and your lifestyle and things, and your good fortune, and your past victories and things don't always guarantee you your future successes, and growing your wealth and things isn't about, always chasing the highest returns. It's about achieving solid returns and consistently and uninterruptedly over time, which is this, the delayed gratification, the patience, and the compounding effect. Especially during some of the stormier times like we've had in the recent years with interest rates, inflation, a lot of different factors affecting property investment. But people like yourself, Jim, have been able to ride out the storm because you planned and you risk analysis.
Do you know what I get quite a lot is about you bought at the right time. It's like, no, I didn't.
It's not about that.
No, I didn't. And I talked to someone. I talked to Tony actually about his pensions and stuff over the weekend. When I was at the EA Masters. So I talked to Tony about this, and Tony was talking about, I'm investing. We're heavily investing in our pensions, and he says the thing is, it's just buying at the right time. It's like, and I said, but Tony, if you've listened to Warren Buffett, if you're doing this long term, buying at the right time makes no difference in terms of the strategy, because it smooths itself out over time anyway. So if you're buying 5% 1 year high, because you're doing it at the same time every time, more or less. If you're buying at the same time, it's 5% higher 1 month. One of the months ends up being 5% lower.
Yeah.
So the idea is actually to invest just consistently over the long term. And it will compound. And the small amounts that you're trying to save or make in the very beginning won't be here nor there in comparison to what the return is going to be. It'll be minute.
Yeah, and I mean, look at, I mean, people saying, like, obviously people say you bought at the right time, but then not really. I mean, if you think back, we were still in kind of lockdown times, and you were buying 20 properties in one and things. Do you know how are you able to do that? Just because you bought property at the right time? No, it's because you make the right decisions and the aspects of your portfolio and things.
Now is always the right time. As the numbers work, now is always the right time. It's irrespective of what has happened in the economy or anything like that. It's now is always the right time. If the numbers are working and you can sustain that, and you can make sure, and you're not relying on it. That's the key. If you're relying on that income that comes out of that property all the time, every single month, you're probably in the wrong business.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the you're not. It's like you've not understood, because some months you might not get anything, some years you might not get anything because it's taking so long to evict somebody if they don't pay, and the government keeps them in there. The legislation keeps them in there quite easily. So this is the sort of thing. So property is now moved for me to be a long-term investment and an income you don't really rely on, but it's there if you need it. And the great thing is, because you've got it in a limited company, for me, it's like it's only taxable at corporation tax rate. It's not classed as part of your income, so you're not a huge super duper higher rate payer. And that's the key. So you can leave it there, and it's been taxed at 25%, which is the corporation tax rate, but it's no taxed at 40 and 50 and 60. It's only taxed at that when you start to bring it out. So if you take it out and you're a low rate payer, it's 8.75, I think it is, in dividends. If you take it out as income, you pay yourself as income under income tax, then it's obviously going to cost a lot more. So you're going to get taxed at the corporation tax, but then that income's that amount you're taking out as income and getting taxed on it is actually deductible against the corporation tax. So you save the 25% in corporation tax, but you have to pay more in income tax because you're possibly a higher rate payer, including national insurance and employers' national insurance as well. But again, all deductible against 25%. I'm not really sure if it works out as good. I think most people go for dividends, because dividends, it's not deductible. You're 25% tax anyway. This is what people don't realize about all these rich billionaires. It's like, if you're taking a dividend out of your company, you're still having to pay tax on it. Your companies pay tax on that money already in corporation tax. The dividend you get isn't deductible against your income for your corporation tax bill. It's actually included. So you've already paid the tax in the company on it. I know you can argue, but it's few and far between that people use shell companies and overseas and the Cayman Islands and stuff like that. Mainstream Joe Blogs actually just uses a corporation, pays their corporation tax. When they take it out, they've got 8.75 on it. So it's 25 plus the 8.75. It just means that they get more in their hand. So their marginal rate of tax is a lot less. For somebody that takes out their 12.5 allowance as a wage, so they get no tax on it, no national insurance. That will change for employers, by the way, because the band's come down recently in the budget. And then for somebody, it then takes the rest out in dividends. They can go up to the threshold, but their marginal tax rate is probably 9% on them, but they're still paid 25% on the money in their company.
Yeah, so it's lower on them as an individual, but it's still through the company.
Yeah, so they're getting more money in their hand, but in the bigger picture, they're paying 34% tax on their income that they're getting, but they're just getting to keep more in their own personal income. That's the key here, to get more in your pocket so you can spend it on what you want to spend it on, so to be tax efficient, and make sure you plan for tax properly. That's why it's so important.
Yeah, it's all about, and obviously, like you say, being tax efficient and being smart and being quite conservative about how you do things, and possibly sidestepping certain risks and things as well. Having a margin of safety kind of boosts your chances of success and a given certain risk levels and things as well, and it helps you stay in the game as well, I suppose. So, and the beauty of it is the bigger your safety net, the less of an edge you need to come out on top when you're trying to obviously navigate through things as well. And then ultimately it leads you to kind of, I mean, everybody, I think, well, hopefully, I think this is what a lot of people think about, is the freedom in wealth creation, and embracing that kind of feeling about steering your own life and being in a more dependable way, that sparks joy and kind of well-being within yourself because you make your own decisions. I mean, what else is a better feeling than living your life and having the freedom to make your own choices? And I think that was a big driver for you in the beginning, Jim, whereas you didn't need to answer to somebody. You make your own decisions. You don't rely on anyone else.
Yeah. And having that choice to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And not feeling you have to do a certain thing. That I think for me that's key. To have that freedom and to never have to worry about money ever again, because technically you don't. That's daft. Because you even still, it's like, oh my God, I'm down to, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, you're down to your last million. It's like, really? Honestly,
yeah,
I've caught myself, thinking like that, and it's like, what? You could effectively pay yourself 50 grand for the next 20 years in your hand, and have 50 grand in your hand for the next 20 years out of $1 million, and that would be it. But you would kind of still never run out of money because you'd have it in a savings account and you would be making money on it.
Appreciating things anyway, yeah.
And you're thinking, it's like, what? I'm worried. It's like, what? I've not got a lavish lifestyle. I mean, I'm doing the one-offs I'm doing, but I'm not lavish in what I do.
You've waited a long time
to everybody else, I'm probably quite tame.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, like you say, you're doing a few things now, but you've waited a long time to be able to do those.
But in comparison to everybody else, even the person that can't afford it gets it on credit and credit cards and borrows all the time and remortgages their house to go on these wonderful holidays and have these brilliant cars, and they work every single day for that. It's like, in comparison to these people, I was like, I've got it made.
Yeah.
I could just, sit back on a beach and drink pina coladas for the rest of my life. Alcohol.
The thing is, all these people still have, things that are a lot of things on tick and borrowed and things like that. They're still going to have a lot of money worries because they've still got all these things to think about.
So coming back to then, this is really then a psychology of money. It's the fact that the people that are like that don't understand what money is for. And again, I'll have people on watching this or listening to this think to themselves, I still don't understand. Oh, well, okay. So probably the best book to read then is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
About Andrew Carnegie and how he built his wealth. Andrew Carnegie was worth 300 million in 1930s. Imagine being worth 300 million in the 1930s. 300 million in the 1930s. He'd be a multi-trillionaire today. That's why you've got the Carnegie Institute and all these different places around the world, because that's what he gave it all to make sure he'd leave his mark. But there's the choice and everything. So wealth is really, it's what you don't see.
Yeah.
How could I describe wealth? It's like a secret treasure, I suppose, tucked away for future use. And it's not just about what you can buy now. It's about the potential it holds for the future. Yeah. That's what wealth is when it comes to money. It gives you the power of choice, as I've already said, the freedom to be flexible, and the ability to grow your wealth, to splurge on something big in the future. Like, there's no doubt about this. Yeah. Necker Island.
Yeah.
Now, to me, Necker Island actually feels like a normality now. And that's a weird feeling. I can't think, if I cashed everything in and stayed, how long could I stay on Necker Island for the rest of my life? It's like, I just want to stay there. But apart from that, but that's the sort of things it gives you. Yeah. Remember, right, here's the key as well. Remember, appearances can be deceiving. There are really modest folks out there with a hidden wealth, and flashy folks who are just a step away from insolvency. The Instagrammers you've got to watch for. The people that pretend to be wealthy, but they're not really. Yeah. There's a hidden agenda. Remember that. So next time you're sizing up someone's success or setting your own goals, keep that in mind. And the advice I give everybody is look up the person on Company's House. Yeah, because you can trace them somehow. My one straight away, it's not obvious on their website, but if you look at their terms and conditions right down at the bottom hidden, when you bring up the pop sheet or you bring up the privacy sheet as well on the website, it will tell you what company they own, the limited company. You take that, you go into Company's House, search for Company's House, company, you type that in, that name, you paste it into there, you hit the button, and it takes you to that company. You look at the people tab, and it tells you if they're a director of that company, which they should be. And if they are, you can click on that person, and then it tells you all the companies they're a director of as well. And you can go through every single one of these companies' public records, because they're limited companies, and you can check every single one to see what their real net worth is. And some of them have not got a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
I did this recently with somebody who actually boasted on LinkedIn. I'm not going to say who that is. We had a big group. Look at us. All the Instagram stuff about them being on Necker Island. And I thought, okay, this is a guy. Now, I didn't do it in malice. I did it. I was like, this is a guy I could maybe learn from. Because if he's on Necker Island as well, he's got to know what's something. And it was called the Something Group. And it sounded impressive. And I looked at it, oh, we're dealing Arab things in Dubai, and we're dealing in portfolios here and portfolios there and portfolios there. And then I looked at their company accounts. They are bleeding money, and their profits are losses every single year. I'm like,
but then that, like you say, it's not something you done it in
my head
malice.
thinking, how could you be on Necker Island and spending all that money to go to Necker Island if
On a
you're
credit card.
making huge losses every year? I wouldn't be doing that.
No.
And that tells me everything straight away. This is not a person I want to learn from, I don't think.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. You were saying you didn't check up on that out of malice. It's when you think there's somebody you want to learn from, you want to make sure
check their background, and then
Yeah.
ask a couple of questions about, are they holding assets in their own personal name, or is there somewhere else in the world? And I do a wee bit of research, and if that's the case, then fine. Richard Branson was a classic. You could look him up, and he's probably not worth anything. But the reality is, all his stuff's in, probably trusts and stuff like that. He's built into there to protect his wealth, to pass it on to his children. That speaks volumes itself, and the very fact he's sitting on Necker Island. But Necker Island's not owned by him, remember? It's owned by Virgin.
By Virgin, yeah, it's a Straits company, yeah.
And it just so happens that's where he stays, because he has to be there for the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, I think that's it's quite an important thing, that wealth is something that you don't see, whereas people with a lot of money and flash stuff is. So be careful of that. People that are really wealthy don't really actually show it as such in terms of their persona and things. Saving money. Let's talk a wee bit about saving money. And I mean, I think that obviously building wealth isn't just about obviously your income and your investment returns and things as well. It is about obviously what you keep aside to then reinvest, and that's something that you really have control over as well. Investment returns can make you quite rich, but there's always a little bit of kind of unpredictability when it comes to investment. So make sure you've got that money saved up.
This is the discipline that you have to have. So when you get your income in, do you immediately say, what could we spend it on, or what do I invest? What do I invest in? So me, disciplined, I always invest. I think it's £1,000 a month anyway. I've always done it. £1,000 every single month. And it goes into investments of some sort. And then if I've got excess cash as well, now and again, I'll invest it in other areas. And I just keep doing that. So I've done, and I don't think about actually spending anything, to be honest. It's then, have I got enough left to do what I want to do? No. Well, do I have a fund somewhere for a rainy day? No. Well, I'm not doing it then. Because that's the way it works. And I don't miss it, because I know I can do it in a 2 or 3 months' time when that picture changes, because I know other things that are going to be happening and income that's going to be coming as a result of that. So that's the sort of thing you've got to think about. What percentage are you putting away every single month? What percentage you actually got for running your household, and what percentage you got for just, to spend, to have nights out, to have time away, to have a holiday, to save up. Or these sort of things. I think that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I think depending on what your investment vehicle is and things, whether it's property, whether it's stocks, whatever you do, markets aren't always going to play nice, and maybe strategies that have worked for a wee while might change. They might not work forever, and then it's all about that. Then, like what you said, Jim, if you've not got enough money to go out and do these things, like whether it's eating out or going on holiday or things, learn to be content with maybe that little bit less money for a while. And create that gap in between where you can have, between not having everything and then having what you want. It's kind of like It's kind of like getting a raise once you can, that delayed gratification thing again. But it's easier and more in your control if you could be quite disciplined to do that.
And that's why I used to say to everybody, as soon as you get a salary rise, don't bring it into your spending habits.
Yeah.
Just squirrel it away. Put it in a savings plan. Put it in some sort of thing. Put it in your pension even. If you've got a private pension, put it in that. Mind you, with the advent of the government and what they've done with the pensions and taking them to an inheritance tax, it's like, for some people like me, it's like, is it worth actually putting it into a pension now? Because it'll just be taking it as inheritance tax. So
Yeah.
they're raiding the coffers of everybody. And is it going to be included with capital gains or inheritance tax later on? All these different things. So for me personally, I think I'm going to get to the point where I'll do one more year at my pension. I'll draw down the 25%. I'll invest that in something else, which will pay me dividends, and then I'll leave it where it is, because you can still put 4% in every year, 4% of the fund to actually top it back up tax free. So, and you'll get, so you could do that rather than actually you can go up to 65%, 65,000 or whatever whatever the threshold is. I don't know. I'm not really bored. The tax, it's only for a tax benefit. I'm using my pension in that way. I'm not even thinking about changing it to a SAS now, because I think that's going to take up far too much of my time. So I think I've made my decision that I'm just going to leave it where it is and just run it like that rather than actually do a SAS. SAS is for people who want to mess about and invest in things and use that money because they've not got the money to do it. But I can always find money somewhere at some point in time for something.
Yeah,
I think that's the level you get to after 30 years of the compounding, and you get to like, well, I could always find it, because I always say, yeah, I'll buy it, and then I go, shit, where am I going to get the money?
Where am I going to get the money for that? I'll have to have a look.
And it's like, I've got it somewhere, but where is it? So think of savings and personal safety net, as you said, and throwing the curveball and least expect, all these different things, playing the market. And you need to just be disciplined to do it. If you don't have control of your time, you're at the mercy of whatever life throws at you. But with some flexibility, I suppose, you have the time to wait for these golden opportunities just to fall into your lap. And it's like really having that hidden return on your savings. Remember, I never got into this to make money. I got into this to make time. Hence the tongue in cheek. Property time lord.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all it was all about, just to get my time back. So, talking about you and me, or you and me, whoever else.
I don't mean like you and I as such. When I say you and me in this, I mean like how the differences between different people, and how, do you know, it's interesting how investors can view the same situation really differently, and it's all about, do you know, people have different perspectives and things as well. When investors have different goals, timescales, budgets, etc., do you know, what might seem like a total outrageous price to one person can be perfectly reasonable to another. Do you know, it just depends where they're coming from and what their situation is, and what their buying power is, and things like, you know, there's a lot of different things. So that's the you and me thing. I didn't actually mean like you and I. Well, I could obviously, but I mean, it can relate to anybody. And that's because every investor pays attention to possibly different factors. And a lot of people, like we talk about, some people have that allure of the short-term returns, and it's so strong that it pulls in. It's so strong that it pulls in a lot of money. But this changes some investors from being, you know, mostly quite logical, long-term focused to being mostly short-term focused and all about the instant return and gain, which most of the time isn't the right strategy. Especially
this is why you get on the Instagrammers and even Facebook itself, you got a lot of people on the property groups talking about how successful they are with their returns and how much they gave as a return to their investor for investing in them. Basically, the investors become the bank for them, because they can't go to a bank and get money from the bank because they're maybe not in that position credit worthy to get it from the bank. That's got to tell you everything, by the way. And then they say, well, we'll give you the first charge over it, which is security over the property. But if they rip the property to bits and then end up popping their clogs tomorrow, you've basically got something that's not worth anything anymore. Or if they buy a hovel and then you put all that working capital in as well, because that's what you're doing for them to refurbish it, and anything happens to them, or they change their mind, or it all goes pear-shaped because something happens to the project, because it's not It's maybe the building's ruined or destroyed, or there's riddled with damp that they never foresaw in the first place, or wood rot or anything like that, then you're at the mercy of them again, and it's your money. And you know, even though you say, well, I've got a charge on your property, it's like, well, the property's not going to be worth anything. So you are taking kind of a risk, and it's these short-term returns that people try to go for. They hear about, oh, I can get 8 and 10%. If I can get 8, what is it? I can get 8 if I leave it in for a year, or I can get 5 if I leave it in for a year, and get 10 if I leave it in for 2 years.
Yeah, and that's where and that's where it could really cause real problems and real trouble for people. And it's where, you know, when long-term investors who have really focused on a completely different game start taking advice and cues from the short-term people, and they're trading in short terms, and they're playing an entirely different game.
Entirely different game. Yeah, definitely.
And
I always said if I wasn't a property, I would be a currency trader, because I know I could make money at currency trading, but I don't. I stick to my knitting and I stay in my lane, because I don't get the shiny penny thing anymore. Like, oh, what's that?
You have dabbled in it a little bit over the years.
It's like, no, this is where I am. This is where I need to go. I don't get, this is over here, I can have that as well. It's like, no, how much more do I need? It's like, just stick to what you do,
you know,
best and do that. Yeah. Hence the reason why we talked about, you know, or we never really talked about it, I just announced it. We're going to Edinburgh and Glasgow and Dundee, and we're, you know, that we're going to, hey, I bought the websites and we're going to create companies there as well. It's like, and I bet you everybody's going, what?
I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't too surprised, because you had dropped it in conversation over here, and I know when you do things like that, I think it's ticking away in the back of your head. So I knew it was kind of coming around.
It's kind of working. Dundee's, you know, first property in Tayport, Craig's got it on, so that's going to go into Dundee, and then we'll move into there as to be, you know, we'll manage people's properties in these areas right across the central of Scotland as well, and then working
in the DD postcode.
Yeah, there you go. So there are classic ones that we could actually use. So I definitely think we're on a winner. But it's a long game. Yeah. A lot of people at this point in time who start in a estate agency or starting what we're doing would be sitting fretting at the fact that I've not got any property to sell, I've not got any property to let or anything like that. What am I going to do? Because they're completely reliant on that income to generate. Whereas we're like, no, we're just doing our day-to-day stuff and what we do in our business in Fife. And then, you know, when we pick up stuff there, we'll deal with that as well at the same time. It's exactly what I talk about people doing their full-time job and doing their property as a side hustle.
Yeah, the side hustle, yeah.
Same thing, same concept. Brilliant, eh?
Yeah,
and it's the same principle that applies to the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the psychology of money. Let's wrap it up for today anyway, because we could go on about, because there's so much depth that we could discuss about it. But I think, in conclusion, the psychology of money, and whether we're talking about all these topics that we've covered today, or even the book itself that was done by Morgan Housel, it kind of covers that profound, you know, exploration of kind of the intricate web of factors that influence our financial decisions.
Yeah.
From that unprecedented, you know, role of luck and risk we spoke about, to the undeniable power of saving and compounding. Yeah, the importance of managing your behaviour for financial well-being and encouraging a shift from your wealth acquisition through to that wealth preservation is so important. So hopefully what we've covered today has provided some valuable insights to people and their human behaviours and perceptions, and how that affects your wealth and ultimately your success as well.
Let me name check someone for this purpose. Warren Buffett. Now, the reason I'm saying Warren, I usually talk about the Oracle of Omaha, Buffett, and everybody, you know, but remember, if this is being watched in 50 years' time, which I would expect by my siblings, no my siblings, but my kids and my grandkids and all the rest of it, they'll go, who the hell's Buffett? Is that something you eat? Is it a wedding or something like that? No. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, said quite clearly, it's about a slow and steady pursuit of building wealth over a long period of time. You should take. It's not about the fast buck. It's not about the quick fix. It's just the slow and steady. While you're doing everything else over here in your day-to-day, you're over here doing the slow and steady, the tortoise, not the hare. building wealth over a long period of time in order to set you free from over here.
Do you know, I seen a really good example of that the other day, and as soon as I seen it, and it was just quickly before we finish up, it was a video online, and it was a dog race, and all the dogs had finished, and there was just one dog, and it was a wee sausage dog, and it had tiny wee legs, and it was just shuffling along, and it was way like the last, but it had become the star of the show. Everybody loved it. It was the star of the show, and I thought, really, that dog's won, and it just took its time and just plodded along.
The cliff
Yeah.
shuffle. For
Yeah.
anybody that's a runner out there, the cliff shuffle, you'll get that straight away for the runners, the real good, the real good. The cliff shuffle, you know, there's no doubt about it. That's the best way to build wealth and compound wealth. It's the old adage as well, is easy come, easy go. Most people that get money pretty quick lose it pretty quick. Most people that build money over a period of time have put their blood, sweat, and effort into that money, and their effort and their knowledge and expertise they've learned over time. So therefore, they value and put value on it. This is ultimately the psychology of money.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll leave it on that, Jim. Thanks very much. Obviously, thanks to everybody who's watching. If you're watching it on the reruns, jump in the comments. We will, of course, come back to everybody as much as we can. We will be back next Monday, as usual, for the Wealth Creation Show. And I will leave it there today. And thanks again for joining me, Jim.
Okay, bye-bye for now.
Bye.